Ever wondered why you make certain choices or why you feel a particular way in specific situations? Well, you're not alone. The human mind is a fascinating labyrinth of thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Today, we're diving deep into 10 jaw-dropping psychological facts that govern our daily lives. Buckle up, because this journey into the human psyche is going to be a roller coaster of revelations. Stay tuned to unravel the mysteries of your own mind. Fact 1. The false consensus effect. Ever catch yourself thinking everyone agrees with you? That's the false consensus effect at play. This cognitive bias tricks us into believing our opinions are the norm. Imagine you're at a party and you don't like the music. You might assume everyone else feels the same, but do they? This psychological quirk not only shapes our social interactions, but also influences marketing strategies and political campaigns. It's a mental shortcut that can lead us astray, making us overconfident in our beliefs. So next time you think everyone's on the same page, think again. Fact 2. The fundamental attribution error. Ever blamed someone's behavior on their personality rather than the situation they're in? Welcome to the world of the fundamental attribution error. This cognitive bias leads us to underestimate situational factors and overestimate personal traits when judging others. For instance, if someone cuts you off in traffic, your first thought might be, "What a reckless driver," rather than considering they might be rushing to the hospital. This bias can affect relationships, work environments, and even international diplomacy. It's a mental blind spot that can make us quick to judge and slow to understand. So the next time you're quick to label someone, pause and consider the circumstances. Fact 3. The actor-observer bias. Ever noticed how you judge yourself differently than you judge others? That's the actor-observer bias in action. When we do something, we tend to attribute our actions to the situation we're in. But when someone else does the exact same thing, we're quick to attribute their behavior to their character. This bias can create misunderstandings and conflicts in both personal and professional relationships. It's a psychological lens that distorts our view of reality, making us less empathetic and more judgmental. So the next time you catch yourself in this bias, try to step into the other person's shoes. Fact 4. The illusion of transparency. Ever felt like your emotions are written all over your face? That's the illusion of transparency at work. This cognitive bias makes us believe that our feelings, thoughts, or mental states are more obvious to others than they actually are. For instance, you might think that everyone can tell you're nervous during a presentation, but the reality is, most people probably can't. This illusion can make social situations more stressful and even affect your performance. It's a mental hiccup that can make us overly self-conscious and hesitant. So, the next time you think you're an open book, remember that people aren't mind readers. Fact 5. The illusory truth effect. Ever wondered why fake news spreads so easily? Meet the illusory truth effect, a cognitive bias that makes us more likely to believe something is true if we hear it repeatedly. It's why advertisers use jingles and slogans over and over again. Your brain starts to think, "I've heard this so many times, it must be true." This effect can be both helpful and harmful. It helps us quickly process information in a busy world, but it can also lead us to accept false or misleading information. So, the next time you find yourself nodding along to a repeated statement, take a moment to question its validity. Fact 6. The availability heuristic. Ever judge the likelihood of an event based on how easily you can recall similar instances? That's the availability heuristic at work. For example, if you've recently heard about several plane crashes, you might think that air travel is more dangerous than it actually is. This mental shortcut helps us make quick decisions, but it can also mislead us. It's why some people are more afraid of shark attacks than car accidents, even though the latter are far more common. The availability heuristic shapes not just our perceptions of risk, but also our actions and decisions. So, the next time you're making a judgment call, remember that your mind might be playing tricks on you. Fact 7. The confirmation bias. Ever notice how you're more likely to believe information that aligns with your existing views? That's confirmation bias in action. This cognitive quirk makes us favor evidence that supports our beliefs and ignore anything that challenges them. For instance, if you're convinced that a particular diet works, you'll pay more attention to success stories and dismiss failures. This bias isn't just personal, it has societal implications too. It can fuel political polarization and even impact scientific research. So the next time you find yourself nodding along to something that just confirms what you already thought, take a step back and question it. Fact 8. The outgroup homogeneity bias. Ever lumped people who are different from you into a single, undifferentiated group? That's the outgroup homogeneity bias at work. This psychological phenomenon makes us see members of groups we don't belong to as more similar to each other than they actually are. For example, if you're a cat person, you might think all dog lovers are the same. This bias can have serious implications, from perpetuating stereotypes to influencing discriminatory behavior. It's a mental shortcut that simplifies complex social landscapes, but often at the cost of fairness and accuracy. Next time you catch yourself generalizing an entire group, remember, diversity exists everywhere. Fact 9. The in-group bias. Ever felt an instant connection with someone just because they're from your hometown or share your hobby? That's the in-group bias in action. This psychological tendency makes us favor those who belong to our group, even when the group is defined by trivial characteristics. For instance, you might root for a sports team just because they're from your city, overlooking their performance. This bias not only shapes our social circles, but also influences hiring decisions, friendships, and even international relations. It's a mental framework that can both unite and divide us. So, the next time you feel an irrational loyalty towards your tribe, remember, it's your brain playing favorites. Fact 10. The self-serving bias. Ever noticed how you credit your successes to your skills but blame failures on external factors? Welcome to the world of the self-serving bias. This mental trick allows us to protect our self-esteem by attributing good outcomes to our own abilities and bad ones to external forces. Aced an exam? That's because you're smart. Failed a project? Must be the team's fault, not yours. This cognitive bias is a double-edged sword. While it can boost our confidence, it can also prevent us from learning from our mistakes. So, the next time you catch yourself dodging responsibility, remember, it's your brain trying to keep your ego intact. In conclusion, the human mind is a fascinating labyrinth of thoughts, emotions, and biases. From thinking everyone agrees with us to blaming external factors for our failures, these psychological phenomena shape our perceptions and actions in ways we often don't realize. Understanding these biases can not only help us become more self-aware, but also improve our interactions with others. So the next time you find yourself falling into one of these mental traps, take a step back and question your assumptions. After all, self-awareness is the first step toward personal growth and better decision-making.